Best championship game ever? Will the Warriors get to 73 wins? Major League Baseball is underway. What are our predictions? And our thoughts on the U.S. women's soccer team? Find out next. MCTV Sports 101 starts now.
Welcome to MCTV Sports 101. I'm Becca Chance, joined as always by Kyle Stafford and Billy Ingle. Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey Becca, we're doing well. Glad to have you as a part of the show.
Yeah, great to have you with us, Becca. We have some great topics lined up, so ready when you are.
Thanks guys, glad to be here. Villanova and North Carolina put together an instant classic on Monday night in the finale of college basketball season. Chris Jenkins of Villanova drained a three-pointer as time expired to lead the Wildcats to their second championship in school history with a 77-74 win. Kyle, what's your thoughts on the game?
Well, I thought it was just a spectacular way to end the season. I mean, it was a great regular season, and then to have that. Now, the Sweet 16 and Final Four were a little rough, a lot of blowouts. But a great way to end the season. And, I mean, what more can you say about Villanova? They're a team, including me, that I thought wasn't going to get past really the second round. I mean, they're a team that hadn't got past it in the last couple of years. They got knocked out early. A lot of people were picking them to lose. And they continue to fight through. They had something to prove in this tournament. And shooting, man, these dudes can shoot. They shot 58% for the whole tournament.
I mean, playing the defense that they had to, and it's not even surprising that they needed to shoot all that well.
I know.
And I want to go into the Final Four and the game against Oklahoma, which everyone already knows in the last couple of weeks. Oklahoma and Buddy Hield have been my picks to win it all. But
44 points. I'm just saying, 44 points.
Well, you know, Villanova came out and they showed me something that I don't think I've seen in a long time in college basketball. They were playing some of the most spectacular defense that I've ever seen played. It wasn't just like Oklahoma wasn't getting off good shots or they were missing shots. No. Villanova was in their hip pocket the entire game. They weren't getting any penetration. They weren't getting open looks. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't move the ball. It literally looked like two different levels of teams playing that game on that night.
I couldn't remember the last time I'd seen that amount of domination between two elite teams. I mean, Villanova looked just so superior to them. And you're right, their defense was spectacular. And throughout the whole tournament, like you said. But in that game, I mean, it's the way they beat Oklahoma. Like, you didn't want to turn off the game because it was just so impressive to watch, because I don't remember a team ever dominating such another elite team like that.
I can't either. Now, going into the national championship game, coming into the final seconds, Marcus Page.
Dude, that was a shot,
what an ending. Two clutch threes, one in the corner, and then a double pump three to tie the game.
That's a difficult shot, to be hanging in the air and still try to be able to find the bucket and be able to range yourself.
You know, some would say it was luck. But, you know, sometimes that's what skill is. It's just enough luck and a lot of talent.
Yeah.
But, you know, towards the end, Chris Jenkins and that last second with 4.6 seconds running down the clock and running down the floor, Ryan Arcidiacono with that clutch pass, knowing wherewithal, who to pass it to and who has the open shot. I mean, it was just great basketball, and I think it was a game definitely meant for the history books.
Well, and look at it. Jenkins only played 21 minutes due to foul trouble. So to be able to stay in rhythm like that, and a guy we didn't talk about, Phil Booth, coming off the bench, 20 points for the young sophomore, guy that only averaged 7 points a game. He was the player of the game, in my opinion.
Player of the game. Becca, did you have Villanova upsetting North Carolina?
I actually had North Carolina winning just because they've been to the championship and they've seen national titles 5 times compared to Villanova only seeing it since ’85.
You know, that's not a bad reason why. I mean, most people favor North Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, I picked them to win it all, so it looks like I'm wrong.
Just one of the many fools in the country.
The Golden State Warriors are now 69-9 after blowing a 17-point lead in a 124-117 overtime loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves on Tuesday. Billy, with only 4 games left, do the Warriors break the Chicago Bulls record of 72 games?
I got to tell you, after last night, you know, their chances, you know, with 17-point lead, how do you blow that? I mean, they got 4 games left. 1 in Memphis, 1 in San Antonio, and then San Antonio and Memphis both come to Golden State. And if they're wanting to beat this, they got to beat Memphis, you know, those can be tough games, and Memphis can win them out, but obviously we know that the Warriors should win. But to beat San Antonio twice, I mean, in San Antonio is already hard enough, but then also with them coming home, I don't know, Kyle, I don't think they're going to do it.
It all depends on what Greg Popovich is going to do. Is he going to sit his starters, or is he going to play them in at least one game? Maybe the home game, I wouldn't mind seeing them play. I mean, I think it's more fun if they play.
Of course.
But, you know, the way he is, he might just go ahead and sit them out. But you're right. I don't know if they can do it because now you have to win all 4 games. If they had won last night, I still think they would have got it because they would have had 1 game to lose.
Last night was huge.
Well, and you look at Memphis. They are a tough team. They're always going to play each other. I look at this. They've played 28 players this year. An NBA record have suited up for them due to injuries, and now they just probably lost Mike Conley for the year as he's likely to miss with an Achilles injury. So now you're talking about missing Marc Gasol and Mike Conley. Now this is a team that is probably going to make the playoffs. Will they upset the Warriors? They still could because the Warriors are a team, they have a lot of pressure on them right now.
Oh, yes.
And the media is really putting the pressure on them. They want to break the record, but I think it may be starting to get to them.
Mm-hmm.
You think that?
I think so. I think actually whenever they came out and said that they were going for the record, I think that was a mistake for them. I mean, obviously, everyone knew that they were, and they knew that they were. I don't know why they had to go out in public and say it and make it on print. So now everyone can go back to them and say, oh, well, you didn't achieve what you were going for. Yeah. Which ultimately, we all know the real goal at the end of the season is to win a championship. Yeah. I mean, records are all fine and dandy, but, at the end of the day, it only matters about the rings on the finger.
Yeah, and, they already have one. So I think when they get to the playoffs, I think the pressure will be off of them just a little bit. If the 4 games will hurry up and end for them, I think they'll be fine. But if they don't break the record, there's nothing to be ashamed about. They did already have the best start in the history of the NBA with a 24-0 record.
Greatest season possibly ever played.
I mean, they're a great team. Steph Curry has kind of struggled lately, but I look at it back two home losses in their last 3 games after winning 54 straight at home. They're a team. I think they can do it. It's just a matter of are they going to wear themselves out.
Mm-hmm. Becca, do you think the Warriors are going to have a breaking year this year and beating the Bulls' record?
I did at first until last night's loss. They play the San Antonio Spurs 2 more times, and so they're going to have a perfect season from here on out if they're going to even come close to the 1995-96 record of the Bulls.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be tough for them to do it. I mean, Chicago that year they had MJ. We'll see if Steph Curry can end up being MJ.
We'll see if he can do it.
The Texas Rangers and Houston Astros both opened up their seasons earlier this week with wins. Both teams will look to build off their strong 2015 campaigns as they are expected to battle it out for all West crown. Kyle, what are your first impressions of these teams after opening day?
Well, I think they're both talented enough to win the AL West. I'm going to go with the Astros.
Well, you take the Astros and I'll take the Rangers. Let's be fair
we'll go ahead and put that out there on the table. I'm going to go with the Astros. But, look, I look at this team. They're very talented across the board, and they're so young. Carlos Correa is 21 years old, and he's already getting talked about being the MVP in the AL. You have Dallas Keuchel, who's only 28, I believe, already with the Cy Young. And on Tuesday he pitched against the New York Yankees. It wasn't very sharp. He had 4 walks, which he only did once last year. But he only gave up 3 hits and 2 runs. So if that's a bad outing, I'll take that every time.
And he also had 5 strikeouts. Don't forget that. I mean, so he didn't have the best game, but he had a good one. Mm-hmm. But I want to go over to the Rangers versus the Mariners. The Rangers on Monday, they got the win. It wasn't pretty. No. We had only 1 hit, and we ended up with 3 runs. Yeah. And I don't know how we ended up doing it, but that shows how errorless baseball can affect you. Yeah. The Mariners that game had 2 errors compared to the Rangers' 1s, and that showed up biting them towards the end. Yeah. Cole Hamels came in, and he didn't have the best game. He had 4 hits off of him, but he had 8 strikeouts. So you're seeing a lot of control with his pitches and a lot of his placement. But Seattle there were just able to get a good jump on him on some of these at bats.
Well, when you talk about errors. In baseball, 1 play can change the game, whether it's in the first inning or the 9th inning. I mean, it's a lot different than other sports. Basketball, different. 1 shot doesn't always decide it, but it can. Obviously Chris Jenkins for Villanova. But 1 error can really cost you a game. Look at the Astros. Dylan Betances overthrows first base. That allows Altuve to take the lead for the Astros. So it should be an interesting season. Both teams are definitely contenders in the AL.
Very, very. Becca, who do you have winning the AL West, the Houston Astros or the Texas Rangers?
I have the Houston Astros. The rookies have really been stepping up to the plate and getting those runs in. And I'm from Houston, so I'm a Houston fan.
She's going with me. So.
Hey, I'm getting ganged up here on set, but it's all right. It's all right.
Last week, a wage discrimination action was filed against the U.S. Soccer Federation of 5 members on the U.S. women's national soccer team. Billy, your thoughts on this?
I think this is an issue that definitely needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
I mean, and it would be different. I mean, clearly over the years, men's sports have been paid just slightly higher, and there's different, speculations on what that needs to be paid and what shouldn't. But this isn't just a small discrepancy.
No.
This is a huge deficit. Big. On a total amount on the World Stage Cup, the U.S. men's national team gets a total of $358 million, for flights, food, hotels, and all that stuff. The women's national team only gets $9.6 million. That is a big chunk of change right there, Kyle.
Yeah, and I think winning should come into a part of it. I mean, the women's team, to me, they're more fun to watch than the men sometimes.
I mean,
because
they win. They win.
They just won the World Cup last summer. They're probably going to be the favorites going into the Olympics this summer as well. So, look, I think they're more fun to watch. They're better than the men's team. The men's team, I mean, they struggle to get out of the group stage. The women's team has always been in the top 5 of the world for pretty much as I can remember. And when you make almost 4 times less than the men, who don't bring home very many championships.
And the thing is the fields and everything is the same size. This is the one sport where everything is identical.
They're a lot more talented. They're more fun to watch. I think they deserve an increase in pay with the new collective bargaining agreement.
Becca, do you think that this wage discrepancy is a big deal in sports?
Oh, yes, definitely. I mean, I think the women's team puts their bodies and their time and their commitment through just as much as the men's team does, and they're still saying worse conditions and less pay. I don't necessarily don't think should pay more, but at least equal to the men's team. And the field conditions are not ideal. 9 out of 10 injuries happen on turf compared to grass fields, and the men get these grass fields, and that's why you're seeing more ACL tears and more incoming recruits from younger national teams to pull up on our teams because of the injuries that are going on. So I think that it should be definitely equal with the men's and women's pay and their field conditions.
I agree.
Yeah,
I mean, if you were to try and use turf on the men's field, wouldn't happen. That's blasphemy. Would never happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's like any other sport. You know, if they want it one way, it's going to happen. So I think they definitely deserve an increase, like Becca said, at least equal pay.
At least.
Well, that's our show for this week's edition of MCTV Sports 101. Join us next week for the latest big-name stories in sports. For Becca Chance, I'm Kyle Stafford.
And I'm Billy Ingle. Till next time.